Hey everyone, this is Dr. William Clark. Glad to be with you for another podcast. One of the questions that we're getting on the line is what can we do to continue to improve our nonprofits, particularly in the middle of this pandemic that is still unfolding real time in our country? And a lot of people are talking about fundraising, about operations, etc., being organized, and so on and so on. One of the other topics that continues to pop up in discussions is how can we continue to fundraise in the middle of all this? And then I've seen some thoughts where some people have said, I don't want to fundraise online. I don't want to do that online because it just takes away from our previous events. While I agree with that and I get the sentiment of what that means. I think one of the challenges that we're trying to wrestle with culturally and within our industry is how to adjust to this new normal. The new normal is here to stay to some extent, in some degree. Whether you agree with it or not, the online environment, particularly in our nonprofit world, is essentially here to stay and is going to have an impact on how we fundraise and operate programs in the near and distant future. Within the world of human services, there's going to be a lot more online interaction, even when we get our this pandemic under control, even when we get the vaccine in place and other elements of our culture in place. There's going to be something about this online environment that we figured out. And I know within our nonprofit here, we figured out that online learning and discussion and training and case management and job development and all those elements can be effectively moderated and curated online to the point that it's becoming a part of what we consider standard operations, right? It's going to be standard for us to say, hey, have all students log on for this particular workshop or training or experience. Hey, invite this particular speaker to be a part of this particular experience. And I will also say to you, this online environment is causing us to adjust our fundraising platforms and strategies to the extent that we're able to engage funders, supporters, investors in an online environment. That's what we're going to do. And it's making a significant difference in how we're strategizing and planning. We are in the throes of thinking about and putting on online events, etc. And I think that's a part of it. But let me just throw this out there to all of you who's trying to think through what does it look like to fundraise online. You're going to have to think just a bit different. Now, this time every year we do an annual leadership conference for nonprofit leaders. We obviously suspended it because of the virus, and at the time we suspended it, there was a lot of unknowns. We are now thinking about how do we release this and do this all online? How do we engage our speakers online? And by the time this conference rolls around, do we have a small group gathering, given that in some states, wherever you are, we can may be able to gather in small numbers. How does that affect the marketing, the branding, ticket sales, the sponsorships, and all that good stuff? And so these are parts of the conversation. Some of the more outdoorsy events have been, what I've noticed is taking place in individual camps or groups or families where a 5K run, a 50-mile bike race is taking place at your own time, at your own leisure, where people are logging their results and then uploading results to a website that is now designed to handle those results and still calculate monies raised, miles ran or biked, and benefits going to the nonprofit itself. So all that being said, I wanted to quickly spark thought within you so that you can start to think about ways to adjust to this online environment, ways you can get better in the middle of this pandemic, because we need to adjust. As an industry, we are typically slow to adjust. We're the last to adjust. We're always the last to get the updated technology. We're always the last to get updated websites. We're always the last to make adjustments to our operations. Some of it is because of our funders and supporters, but some of it is because of us and our fear of adjustments, our fear on behalf of our clients, which in many cases is not justified. So I'm going to challenge you to rethink your strategies, fundraising strategies, program strategies, recruitment strategies, engagement strategies, anything you're doing, your PR strategies, marketing strategies for this online environment, because things are going to kind of stay the same with this new normal. And remember, if any of you have taken any training about how to deal with organizational change, there is this process called is freeze, unfreeze, and then refreeze, right? We have been unfrozen in for about 30 to 45 days, and about day 46, day 60, we've begun to freeze new normals, and these new normals, whether they're integrated into old things or completely new things, are now part of what we're going to consider our future in the near and long term. So I share that with you. I encourage you to start to think differently on behalf of your nonprofit. This is Dr. William Clark for the Dr. William Clark Podcast. We'll see you in the next episode.